What up? I'm Shep Papelka, and this is the Braves TomaBlog. It's time to do a scouting report on what to expect from Austin Riley. I'm going to go through some specifics on who he is as a physical player, some of his physical attributes, some comparisons, what to expect in terms of his developmental timeline, and really wrap it all up with where he fits into the Braves organization as a whole and what we can expect not only this year, but in longevity as well. I have to say I've never been the biggest Austin Riley guy. I'm not at all opposed to Austin Riley, and I like Austin Riley. I think he's a very good prospect. I never saw anything jump off the page at me. I never saw anything jump out at me that made me say, like, this is the guy, this is an organizational staple, and this is a guy that we need to plan around. That's kind of how I've always felt about Austin. And ultimately, that's where this video is going. You know, it's the fact that it's been a swinging door at third base ever since Chipper left, and we've been waiting around for this guy for over 2 years now, going like, you're going to be the guy to fill the position. But in terms of who he is, you guys know who he is. You know, he drafted in as a compensatory pick, the 41st overall pick in 2015. That pick was the pick that we got in exchange for Justin Upton, along with a bunch of other stuff. He's 6'3", 220 pounds. To me, he's a pretty traditional build of a guy at third base. You know, there's like two types of guys that you can really get at third base, which is shortstops that kind of outgrew the position, and then you can get these barely type of like thick guys like Miguel Sano, Jake Berger. You know, in terms of like, you got like Alex Bregman to Miguel Sano, he's about right in the middle of that. His body, I think it reminds me a little bit of A-Rod, but like still post-steroid A-Rod. His swing is very balanced. It's one of those point of contact centered swings where he really tries to make contact at the position of most power, a little bit like Kevin Youkilis used to do. It's not a very flat swing, but it's used to generate a lot of power, a lot of out-of-the-park power, and a lot of gap power as well. Early on in his development, he struggled with strikeouts to a small extent. I think that that's a little bit been overblown by a lot of scouts. He's had about a 20% strikeout rate, which is not good, but you know, it's not nearly as bad as it used to be, given the state of strikeouts in the game as it currently is. He's actually made improvements on it, though. In 2016, he struck out 147 times. Last year, he struck out 124 times, so he made a little bit of an improvement. He walked a little bit more. Really, to me, it was just improved contact in the strike zone. I don't want to overstate that in terms of results. He actually hit 275, so he went 271 to 275. It's a little bit of an improvement, but the bigger thing is just fewer strikeouts. He's putting the ball in play a lot more. The most impressive thing about his play to me is his durability and his ability to adjust to competition. When I say durability, he played in exactly 129 games last year, and he played in exactly 129 games the year before. I've never heard a peep about injuries or even setbacks, really. He's just been on a consistent curve up the minors ever since we drafted him. It's really nice and refreshing to see for a guy at that position as well. In terms of ability to adjust to competition, his numbers are about the same at every single level. He doesn't, you know, go through ups and downs so much. He hits about 270 to 280. He hits about 20 home runs a year, about 75 to 80 RBIs. Pretty much everywhere that he's gone thus far, which has been at 3 levels. So, look, if he can keep that up and do that at the majors, we're good. In terms of his developmental curve, he's moving along fairly quickly, not absurdly quickly. He's not Ronald Acuna or Luis Gohara or anything like that. But he played a little under half the season at Double-A last year as a 20-year-old. That's good for a high schooler that you drafted 2 years ago. It's really good. It's what you want them to be if they're going to be a good player, which is what he has been. He's not moving absurdly fast or anything like that. He's just been on a good curve, and he's stayed consistent throughout the whole thing. And I don't feel like they've pushed him at any point. They've never had to do anything to like throw him into a situation and say, can you handle this? He's earned the bump at every level that he's gone to. As far as this coming year, a lot is to be determined, but he's playing pretty well at spring training right now. I think it's unlikely. You know, a lot's to be determined, and we'll find out at the end of the month where he starts. I think more than likely it'll be at Double-A. I don't think that they'll throw him at Triple-A this year as immediately as a 20-year-old. I think that if he just starts out at Double-A, because he didn't have a ton of time there, and you want players to have a solid amount of time at Double-A, play Double-A, and if you hit at the rate that he was, I think there's a solid chance he's in that first group of players that gets moved up in May. or May, early June, he'll get bumped up to AAA and he'll play the majority of the season at AAA as a 21-year-old. And that's impressive. It's really good. And it's not to be understated that Riley, along with Acuna, Allard, Soroka, and Gohara, they're the youngest people at the level that they're playing at. All of their competition is older than them. It's just not to be ignored. Now, as far as whether he can make his big league debut within the coming season, 2018, I wouldn't count on it. I think it's unlikely. It's possible. The way that it's possible is if he comes in and he really kills it at AAA this year, and he actually steps up his game from what it has been. Let's say he hits 280, 285 with 24, 25 home runs by the start of September, then yeah, they'll want to get him a cup of coffee in the major leagues so that he can be ready to be the starting third baseman next year. For one, I think that's unlikely that he'll do that, and even if he does have a solid year at AAA, he's still just 21 years old, and he didn't play a ton of time at AA last year. I think more than likely they'll want to keep him down and get him some more at-bats in the Arizona Fall League, which he did this past year as well, and he did really well there. At that point, you would want him to come into spring training looking to compete for the starting third base job in 2019. I think that he'll be in a situation a lot like Acuna, though, where we're asking this question, when's Riley going to be up? When's Riley going to be up? More than likely, we're going to wait until we get the rookie eligibility, unless he absolutely kills it. Ideally, Austin Riley will play his way onto the roster, and we'll just have to put him on there, but more than likely, we'll just put him on there when it's convenient for us. In terms of what will determine his success once he's at the big leagues, it will be, again, that durability and consistency to perform against competition that he's already displayed. If he can hit 275, 20 home runs, 75 RBIs, like he has done at high A and he did at double A, then we're good. If that's what he does, then that's our starting third baseman for a very long time. That is not to say, however, that durability and consistency will fill the hole at third base. Durability and consistency is probably what Johan Camargo is going to give you this year. We need Austin Riley to play durably and consistently at the level that he's played at or higher. Which brings me to an ultimately bigger point, which is that there's a lot of risk going into this, because what about the idea that Austin Riley struggles once he faces big league pitching, which we all know is not at all absurd or out of the question, and instead of hitting 275 in his rookie year, he hits 240 with 13 home runs. We're going to be in a little bit of a predicament if that's the case. That brings me to the ultimate real thesis of this video. Is not so much about Austin Riley, it's about the stock that the Braves have in Austin Riley, and it's a concerning situation right now. The amount that we need Austin Riley to succeed as quickly as we need him to succeed, and I think that we're treating him a little bit more like an organizational staple than he's warranted. And that sucks, because that is not Austin Riley's fault, and he's done nothing to deserve that or be in a position to have stakes so highly placed upon him at this level of his career. It's really no one's fault, per se. It's not that anyone screwed the pooch to put us in this situation. What essentially happened is that the timing is so uncomfortable that we've been on this rebuilding track, that we're coming up to year 5 soon, where you're supposed to start winning by year 5, and Austin Riley is just getting ready to make it to the big leagues, and we're saying, A, we need to win. It's vital to win, and the fans are going to be sitting around because we've told them for year after year, wait until the young guys get here, wait until the young guys get here, and the young guys are starting to get here, but by the time that the young guys are starting to get here, that's the time that we're supposed to win, and Riley is the epitome of that young guy that's supposed to get here when we win. It's not anyone's fault, especially not in the front office now. Anthopoulos just received this. But our lineup isn't great. No, sorry. Our lineup isn't good right now. Now, hopefully this year, oh my goodness, if Dansby could show up and hit 275, if Ozzie could show up and hit 260 with 20 home runs, if Ozzie could hit 280 and steal 20 bases and get a bunch of doubles and score a bunch of runs, it would help things a lot. And if that doesn't happen, I don't see us going out and we talk about, we're going to have money to spend. On what? We're not going to go and replace these guys. They need more time, and that's fair, and we want to give them more time. It's going to put us in a waiting game, and if that's the case, if things don't work out this year, and then we're sitting around next year going Austin Riley, and that'll solve the problem, that's a ton of pressure put on Austin Riley. Not to mention, what if Acuna succeeds this year, but he deals with a sophomore slump the next year? These are risky situations. There's a little bit of leeway that I see in that Austin Riley is not, you don't have to keep him at third base immediately or in the long-term future as well. He seems to be able to play left field. That is an option, and so an option that we have is if we wanted to go out and maybe spend a little bit of money or make a bold trade. I love Nick Castellanos. He's got 2 years left on his deal right now. I would make that trade today. I would love it. I would love Josh Donaldson under a 4-year contract at about $80 million. Anything more than that is absurd. We can't afford Machado, but I'm saying that we could add a third baseman, and we could put Acuna in right, Riley in left. If we want to bolster our lineup with that and give someone that we can rely on behind Freddie Freeman. That's a little bit of a better plan. It's still extremely risky because we're still, right now, we're hoping for Dansby, we're hoping for Ozzie, we're hoping for Acuna, and we're hoping for Riley. Not to mention Alex Jackson. It's risky. It's very, very risky. You've got the anxiety of the fans building up because they've been relying on these couple of years for such a long time. You've got a struggling young pitching staff that's dealing with problems of its own right now, and the last thing that it needs to worry about is keeping other teams to 2-3 runs a night. You've got contracts that are starting to wear with Freddie Freeman and Ender Inciarte, and you don't want to waste their primes. Ooh, the stakes are getting raised right now. And Austin Riley is in the center of it. And I feel like this is a little sidetracked because I meant to talk to you guys simply about Austin Riley. The thing about Austin Riley is that I can't really tell you so much about like what to look out for and what to really hope for. The hope is that Austin keeps doing exactly what he's been doing. The problem with the situation is that it's not so much about Riley's development, it's about the situation which Riley enters into that raises the stakes. And it worries you, and the last thing that you would ever hope is that the pressure that the organization puts on Austin Riley could affect his play on the field. But you're kidding yourself if you don't think that that's the situation. And I feel like it's a little unfair both to Austin and to the fans that I shouldn't have to be worried to this extent about the development or the performance of a 20-year-old over the next 2 to 3 years of his career and how he can help our organization bridge a gap. That's not a 20-year-old's job to do. I hope that the organization handles the development of Austin Riley actively instead of passively. Anyway, thank you guys for asking. I'm Shep Papelka, and this is the Braves TomaBlog. It's my first video I've made in a while, but I promise, I will make more videos. Appreciate you guys watching. Check out my channel, see if it's for you. Appreciate you guys watching. Go Braves.